Adam, have you considered that you're horrible? Have you considered that today?
I did, yeah. Actually, I
Wait a
usually
minute.
consider that every time I wake up. I'm like, oh
Wait a
my
minute.
god,
You are horrible. Why did you put Crystal's face on my face?
I'm a horrible person.
Why did you do this? I didn't even get the
Look,
reference. What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say, huh?
it was just a funny face that she made on yesterday's show, and
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
cribbed it to put on your face because I thought it'd be cool. So
That is how I feel very often when I'm reading
when are we
like
gonna get into the show?
comments.
I mean, are we
I want you
starting
to
or
get rid
what?
of the crystal picture off my beautiful
Nobody
visage, and then we can
cares.
jump into it.
Nobody cares. Let's go.
Everyone cares.
Let's get on it.
Everyone cares, Adam.
What's this
Okay.
show about today?
Today, I don't think I haven't forgotten. Today we're watching. Oh my God, this conversation is insane. We have Cornel West and Cenk double teaming. Okay.
Double teaming.
Double teaming in a brutal fashion. Pierce Morgan. And in it, Cornel West is just flat out calling Pierce Morgan a big old racist. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, look, presidential candidate Cornel West coming out saying, "Whitey, you racist."
Essentially, yes.
How's
And
that going to affect the white vote? I'm not sure.
I don't
Doesn't
know.
sound good.
And Cenk is calling Pierce Morgan a liar to his face. Jeez,
Right. Yeah.
crazy.
So a lot to dissect here. Let's get into it.
That's right. But first, you gotta get rid of Crystal's face on my face.
Why? Just live with it. Come on. It's cool.
No,
People
I don't
like
like
it.
it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Okay, so
Oh,
listen, it's rude
God.
to Crystal. Okay.
No, it's rude to you. Crystal looks great.
Uh-huh. Are we getting that Robbie? Oh, whoever was it? You, Death by Self. Whoever talked about that Brianna Robbie clip where she demanded respect. Can you send it to me or tell me what video it is? Because I can't find it. And Adam gaslit me yesterday. It was not the clip that we were talking about.
No, it wasn't. Look, I
Yes.
misremembered. It's not gaslighting.
I know, I'm
Okay.
just teasing you. But okay, but yeah, so send me if you know that clip, send it to me or tell me what the name of it is. Anyway, let's jump into this.
Doesn't mean I don't have very strong views about what's happening in Gaza because you know that I do. So where is my lie in all this?
Yeah, Piers, I've just listened to you for 20 minutes frame the issue in a purely 100% Israeli propaganda way. So if you say, hey, listen, the Jewish students shouldn't be harassed or attacked, of course I agree. I've got
Do you
Jewish
agree with
family.
me? So why have I lied?
Yeah, no. Stop interrupting.
Hear that jungle? Hear that jungle music in the background? That's kind of racist, huh? Here's
Dun,
Morgan.
dun,
Pick
dun,
that.
dun, 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 dun. It's kind of sounds kind of like generic action. Like no, it's generic suspense, intense music, but also like Pirates of the Caribbean. I
No
like
way.
it.
You know
It's
he
good.
selected that music specifically. He's like, pull the jungle track out. They want to call me racist. Pull the jungle track out.
I don't think that was the thought process. Okay.
Oh, sure. Sure it
Uh-huh.
wasn't. Sense a little dog whistling here.
Okay, so we're gonna skip the beginning, but I'm gonna explain it because the beginning is basically what sets Cornell and Cenk off, even though it's not interesting. So Pierce is talking to a woman who was at the protest, or I guess outside, it's not really clear. And she's a very pro-Palestine, and Pierce was like kind of putting the thumb screws to her in terms of saying like, yeah, well, what about to the river from the river to the sea? Isn't that like racist? And doesn't that make Jews on campus feel, unsafe? And what about when they say intifada and blah 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 blah, right? He's like really asking her, tough questions. And obviously, as you know, because we've watched many of these conversations, no one wants to answer any of these questions, right? They just duck, dive, and dodge away. And that's what allows Pierce to just keep asking the question again and again and again. And then people get mad at Pierce. They say, why do you only ask these questions? Because no one wants to answer them. That's why I keep asking the questions.
She tried to blame the violent intifada on Israel. She was like, "Look, if Israel wasn't such a bitch, there wouldn't be violence."
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, right.
Yeah, so obviously we know where it stands on this issue.
Right. Okay, so let's jump into this.
Have people, and we've seen pictures of them inside and outside campus, who appear to be supporting Hamas rhetoric. who are wearing maybe insignia relating to Hamas or Hezbollah or whatever, if you're brazenly supporting organizations, groups of people that are deemed to be terrorists by large swathes of the world, does that cross the line?
This is utter nonsense, Piers. Can I just answer the question?
Okay, check. Yeah.
You got genocide taking place. You got IDF terrorism taking place. You can't say a mumbling word about 12 universities that's been leveled to the ground. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of professors have been killed.
You know,
What?
I just noticed.
What?
Look at,
Did he just
look
say that universities were leveled to the ground? I thought it was an open air prison.
at...
What exactly?
Oh no! Oh no, Adam! Don't do it! Don't do it!
What exactly is going on here? Is it a prison or not?
It is an open air prison that had many universities and many hospitals, which are all now gone. Okay.
Oh, okay.
You don't understand. It all makes
right.
sense when you don't think about it. Right.
Oh, okay. What were you going to say?
Look at his bookshelf.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you
Okay.
see that big, bright red book?
That says critical theory on it?
Critical race theory. Yeah, that's the book. You know, all the book that I read the crazy stuff out of that
Yeah.
I say like this is the guidebook of
Oh,
CRT.
I know
That's,
it. I
it's
know
that
it.
book. That's
the
the book.
founding documents of critical race
Yeah,
theory.
he has it
Yeah,
on his shelf, prominently displayed in the background
He
for everyone to
does.
see and point
Up
to.
high. Yeah. And high in the hierarchy.
I know.
Students have been killed. You're a journalist.
Yes.
Have you talked about the 112 journalists who have been killed, brother?
Yes, I have done.
Yeah, actually, I have. Thank you.
This is really bad too, because and Piers talks about this. He specifically had everyone booked to talk about the college protest. And so to me, it is very disingenuous to be like, why are we talking about the college protest? Why aren't we talking about the people who are dying in Gaza? It's like, well, I mean, I booked you to talk about this. What are you talking about?
Yeah, of course.
You spread lies.
Well,
at
hang
this
on.
point.
Well, Cornel, I
You treat
actually.
the sister so unfairly.
Cornel, hang on, hang on. Cornel. Cornel.
Unfairly.
Cornel.
And then you just start lying. You start lying, man. It's ridiculous.
Cornel,
man.
I'm not
It's
lying about
ridiculous.
anything.
You want to show, and you want to make
No,
money,
you are.
go on.
No,
I
hang
agree
on.
with Cornel West completely. You're totally, utterly lying through your framing. The
Yeah,
framing of
if I
this
may-
is a total.
Cornel West. Cornel West jumps on top of him and Cenk is like, here, let me get his legs.
Oh, is it? And it's funny because like Cenk comes in and it's like you can't even understand what Cornel is saying anymore because either he's getting cut off by Cenk being too loud or his own audio issue or something. But he just looks angry as he's talking into like the microphone.
Cornel, settle down, okay? You're gonna have a heart attack here.
So actually, if you listen closely, he actually calls Piers a racist here, but Piers doesn't hear it until later.
Right.
So Cornel actually is like, oh, he didn't hear me call him a racist. So like 10 minutes later, he's like, I got to make sure I call him a racist again. So he actually hears me.
He calls him a racist and a liar.
Yes.
Hard to tell which is worse.
Sorry.
Please
Okay.
lie. Yourself.
Look, I can't hear you both speak at the same time. Cornel, just to be clear, I have posted. Sorry, hang on.
Please.
Hang on. I have posted about the journalists who've died in Gaza, right? I have
Then say
posted about
something.
this. I have
Put it in the
highlighted
framework.
the deaths of those
Framework,
journalists,
brother.
right?
Put it in the framework.
Well, I'm going to. I was going to come to you about the framework.
No, you're not.
All the vandalism about one hall, and you hardly can say a mumbling word about universities, libraries gone completely, schoolrooms gone completely. You see how truncated and narrow your framework is? You're just lying, man. You ought to be ashamed of
Okay.
yourself.
When you say lying, what you're trying to imply that
So is it okay? Can we have a conversation? Like, say there's some horrible thing happening somewhere in the world that everyone agrees is horrible, right? You have like the Uyghur genocide is happening in China. Well, everyone doesn't agree with that because the socialists pretend it didn't happen. But let's just say, for the sake of the hypothetical, a bunch of college kids actually do start to care about the Uyghur genocide in China, and they start, disrupting all of colleges in some fashion, basically preventing people from going to class, preventing people from graduating, gluing their hands to the freeway to block traffic, like all these things. Just because, and this is, I guess this is like kind of what annoys me about the way that Cornell and a lot of other people frame this. It's like, yeah, there can be like lots of horrible things happening. There's insane civil wars going on in Africa right now where like, over 1 million people have died and people don't really talk about it. But is it just because there's something like really horrendous happening somewhere in the world? Does that mean that that gives people in America the license to protest or try to bring awareness to that issue, doing whatever they want?
No, of course not, obviously. And everything that they're doing is infringing on other people's rights. It's not like they're just doing peaceful protest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, and it's so annoying because I feel like, and I don't know if there's like a term for this, but that's always what happens. It's like, well, you have to accept people doing things that are annoying, that are infringing on your rights in America because they want to bring awareness to some issue somewhere else in the world. And it's like, well,
No, you don't.
okay. It's like, I mean, yeah, again, first of all, I'm suspect to that anyway. I'm suspect that that's really what's motivating all of these people in the first place. I mean, I'm sure it's part of the hierarchy of motivations, but I think a lot of it is just, getting off on telling adults that they're wrong on an emotional level. But you don't get to violate my rights just because you think you have some kind of morally righteous cause.
Yeah, of
Isn't that
course.
isn't that like the number one road to, you know, leading you down the bad pathway, saying, well, I have a righteous cause, so therefore I get to violate your rights?
Yeah, it's awful. They're no better than Hamas. That's exactly what Hamas did.
Well, let's not go full Hamas yet.
No, they are. They are.
But there you go. There you go. Taking over that building, Columbia. That's what Hamas would have done, right?
Hamas infringed on people's freedom. Literally
There you
killed
go.
them. Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, to a lesser extent, obviously, but
Mhm.
they are infringing on people's freedom, and they seem to have this, this righteous indignation about, oh yeah, well, we're allowed to because you don't care about our cause. No,
And
you aren't actually.
yeah, and it annoys me that like a lot of people on the far left and the far right they have this disdain and disgust for civility. And like it's of course like the revolutionists have this disgust for civility. Civility is the only thing that keeps our society from falling apart. I don't
Yeah.
think people realize that. That's literally the only thing that keeps our society from falling apart is this idea that like we need to be civil with each other and respect each other's rights, respect each other, even if we disagree with each other like very, very strongly.
Do you know who else hated civility?
Oh.
Hamas. Like, come on.
That's true.
It's so they think. Well, look, a lot of them don't even seem to be willing to acknowledge that they're infringing on other people's rights. Like they'll categorize them taking over some building, some school building as, we go to school here, this is our building. Well, I mean, it's your building collectively with all the other people that go to school
Right.
there. And unless you've got 100% of the student body in favor of doing that, I mean, that's a weak argument. You're basically you're saying, look, we're 5% of the population of this university that's pissed off about the Israel-Palestine situation, so therefore we can take this building away from 100% of the student body. No,
Mhm.
no, you can't. You can't. Look, protests used to be, there was some kind of unjust law, right? Black people couldn't eat at some restaurant or something. So they would go in and they would break the law. They'd say, look, I'm a black person. I'm going to eat here. Here, I'm going to order something, right? And then they would suffer the consequences. They would get arrested. They would go to jail. And everyone would be like, this law is fucked up. People are going to jail just for ordering food, right? This is not that situation at all. How is this that situation?
It's not.
It's not even remotely that situation.
No.
They're basically using hostage tactics to force people into doing their bidding. How is it so different from Hamas? How is it so different?
Well, it's obviously
Sitch?
different on like scope and scale, but I understand what you're saying.
The scale is different, but the
Yes.
tactic is exactly the same. Look, we're going to take hostages and you're going to give in to our demands until, we're not going to release hostages until you give in to our demands, right?
They're going to hold themselves hostage in a building and then demand you give them food.
Well, they're going to hold the building hostage, and that woman coming out like that and playing the victim. She's like, look, I'm the hostage. I'm starving here.
Right.
Are you going to let me die?
You're holding me hostage somehow. It's like a university.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid and illiberal. All these people are just, and look, you've got This clip is amazing because Cornel West. Oh my God, this guy's running for president.
Mm-hmm.
Look,
Well, technically, Cenk was too at some point. So look, we have two.
I know, two fucking
potential
hotheads.
presidents.
Look, this guy. If this was a disagreement with Putin, like he's already pressed the button. He's already launched nuclear strike. Get this guy. He can't even control himself in a conversation on national television.
Right.
How's he going to be commander in chief of the military?
Mm-hmm.
So ridiculous.
I don't care about the other stuff you've just mentioned.
That's what I'm saying.
That's not a lie.
That's definitely right.
Well, does not have the same value as an Israeli life. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, let me bring in Cenk. Let me bring in Cenk here.
Did you see it? He keeps saying, "I'm saying you're racist. I'm saying you're racist," but Piers isn't here. He doesn't notice.
That's so evil. That is just so bad. Especially, I mean, that's like a huge false accusation. Like I have never seen Piers Morgan do anything remotely racist.
No.
Like he seems very progressive, liberal, like definitely on the left. Like he does genuinely care about these people and this situation. So just to call him racist because of his position on
these protests.
On the specific protests is just
right.
Why?
Or really the issue that they're mad about is like, how dare you talk about this to me is kind of the problem. Because their position is, how dare you talk about these student protests and their actions, whether they're good or not, without talking about what they're protesting for. And it's like, well, I don't know how super relevant that is, right? Like if this was if this was a situation where the college, let's say the US government was doing some kind of horrible genocide, right? It was bombing people, killing people. And so people in protest of that went to like these government buildings and were trying to take them over and doing some kind of like extreme protest. I don't know if I'd like that, but at least I'd be like, I kind of understand like the thought process, like the one-to-one connection here. It's like the federal government is doing this direct action that's killing all these people. You know, you think that's wrong, so you're trying to like protest against the federal government. This to me, it's like, okay, you're protesting against a college wanting them to divest from Israel, which is, even if they do, is going to be a slow process and is not going to have any real tangible effect on, what's going on in Israel right now anyway, and just kind of makes your movement look stupid and bad. Like, it just seems like such
divestment
nonsense
is
to
a
me.
one-to-one though. Obviously, they feel
No, I understand that it is a one-to-one, but it's like if you get colleges to divest from, if you get Columbia or any of these colleges to quote divest from Israel,
is it going to
that's not
change
going to
anything
change
in Israel or Gaza? No.
Yes, that's going to have
Nothing.
zero tangible impact on what's going on right now. That's why I'm saying, like, if they wanted to actually do something, why are they not? Well, I know why they're not. It would take too much energy, planning, time, money, and resources, which they don't want to do because they don't actually care, to go to Washington, D.C. or go to some kind of federal building and kind of protest there in some capacity to try to try to get America to stop supporting Israel if that's what they want.
The thing that I don't like about this is he's framing this as, if you don't give a fuck about collateral damage going on in Gaza, it's because you're racist against the Palestinian people. No, no, that's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of reasons that you can not care about various situations without dipping into you're a racist.
Right. Well, not even the collateral damage question. He's just saying he's chastising Piers because he's not framing the issue, quote, correctly. Because he's not saying, well, because Israel is doing a genocide, therefore we are allowing students to do this behavior in America. He's saying that means that you don't think Palestinian lives are worth as much as other people's lives, therefore you're racist, which is like a massive leap in logic. That's like the underpants gnome, like massive jump in logic there. But
yeah, the critical race theory book says it all. Like that's the only move so many of these people have. Yeah. They're like everything is like a game to connect whatever the issue is to racism. Because it's like racism is the goal.
And this is why I say, it's funny because, if you say to someone on the left, like, oh, I think so much of the leftists, they're really hyper motivated about this issue because they see it through this like weird CRT racism perspective. They see the Israelis as like white Europeans subjugating brown people. And a lot of people on the left say, no, 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 that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. And Cornel West is literally showing that that's true because from his perspective, he believes, and I think he honestly believes this, he believes that the only reason Pierce and other people feel the way that they do about the situation is because they're white people.
Yep.
And then that's why they're siding with the quote, white European Israelis.
Yeah.
Let me bring in.
Saying.
Okay, let me bring in Cenk. Just to be clear, I haven't lied about anything, right? I haven't talked about what's happened in Gaza yet because we haven't come to that part of the debate. But Cenk, I don't believe you've always seemed to me to be one of the more rational voices in this debate, prepared to accept what Hamas did was horrendous and so on. I don't believe that you think it's right that Jewish students should be intimidated and harassed on a campus.
You come right back to the thing again.
Can I just answer?
Was what Hamas did racist? I mean, they would argue that it wasn't racist. They would argue that Israel is oppressing them and they're lashing out at their oppressors, and that's never, you can't categorize it as racist.
Well, it's obviously anti-Semitic, but
well, yeah, bigotry, obviously.
Sure. Obviously,
I mean,
bigoted, right?
Are you saying that Judaism is not a race? I guess not an ethnicity.
Well, I sort of an ethnicity, I guess, but
yeah.
It's funny. Do you like how he's like trying to set Cenk up? He's like, listen, you're like a reasonable voice in this conversation, okay? Like,
you're usually a reasonable voice, Cenk, and now here you are calling me a liar over and over again.
Right.
Cenk is on this show like 5 times a week now.
I know, it's great.
This is kind of crazy. Well, look, this might be his last appearance. I'm not sure.
Piers Morgan tried to set up a debate between Destiny and Hassan.
Did he really?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously Hassan refused to do it. So.
Of course, Hassan would get destroyed.
I know.
Hassan would get annihilated from space. He would never live it down. That'd be the end of Hassan's career.
No, it wouldn't. I don't think it really hurt his career that much because his audience hates Destiny so much. And when Hassan loses, they'll just say like, "Oh, Destiny sneaky debate tactics."
Oh yeah.
But I think it would just wound Hassan's pride more than anything else and his ego.
Yeah.
Hamas did was horrendous and so on. I don't believe that you think it's right that Jewish students should be intimidated and harassed on a campus.
You come right back to the thing again.
Can I just answer this for
We are
God's
debating
sake?
the protests, okay?
Come on, brother.
Cenk.
Come on, man.
I don't think it's right. They should be
So
subjected to intimidation.
Okay, Piers.
Nobody
can I
thinks
finally
it's
answer?
right. Nobody thinks that's right. It's not
Cornel,
right.
let Cenk speak and I'll come back to you.
Girl has a hall named after her because she and 15,000 other children have been killed by the IDF terrorists that you don't even call terrorists, but you can call the students terrorists. That's not a double standards, man. That's just outright mendacity, hiding criminality on your show, and you're supposed to be uncensored, concerned about the truth.
Well, you just said
when did he ever call the students terrorists? Like, that's a big stretch there. Piers Morgan calls them terrorists. I call them terrorists all day long. Piers Morgan.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't think he does in the beginning of the clip, but it's so much of this is just. It's why this conversation is very annoying to talk to a lot of.
I know it's
the pro-Palestinian people about because there's just no acknowledgement that there's any actual security concern whatsoever. And it's just like, okay, if you can't acknowledge that, then we're just operating in different, universes.
Well, look, and he doesn't even want to have a conversation about the actual protests until they spend all their time talking about the death toll in Gaza. He's like, look, we got to poison the well with all this death and destruction going on in Gaza before we can have any conversation about what's going on college campuses.
Right.
It's like, what? Okay.
Which they've done whole debates on Piers Morgan about. It's not like they haven't talked. It's not like they don't talk about this stuff constantly.
Of course. Yeah.
said I call them terrorists. I haven't called them terrorists. That, ironically, is a lie. Cenk, I want to bring you in. You're getting very angry about this too. Just to be clear, I am expressing an opinion that what has happened at Columbia has crossed a line. And that if I'm a Jewish student there, I think it's completely outrageous. I'm being intimidated and harassed for the actions of Israel's government thousands of miles away. That doesn't mean I don't have very strong views about what's happening in Gaza, because you know that I do. So
That's called collective punishment, by the way.
where is my lie in all this?
Yeah, Piers, I've just listened to you for 20 minutes frame the issue in a purely 100% Israeli propaganda way. So if you say, hey, listen, Jewish students shouldn't be harassed or attacked, of course I agree. I've got
you
Jewish
agree with
family
me? So why have I lied?
Yeah, no. Stop interrupting. But what you don't talk about is you say from the river to the sea is an unacceptable change. Did you mention to the audience in these last 20 minutes that Benjamin Netanyahu actually said it recently? Not only that, he's actually doing it. He's in the middle of wiping out the Palestinians from the river to the sea. That is the grotesque violence. He has slaughtered 25,000 women and children. They were all innocent. So when Hamas kills 860 innocent Israeli civilians, I call them out and I say that is terrible. But when Israel slaughters 25,000 women and children, we're saying, oh, I don't like a pro-Palestinian chant. A chant? That's what we're concerned about. And now you turn to the violence that has happened on college campuses.
Well, first of all, I just want to say it's kind of funny that Cenk is like, don't interrupt me when like the amount of interrupting that happens in this conversation, like off the chart. But it's just this argument. It's so bad, and people that are very passionate, like Cenk is just so emotional about this issue. I don't think he can. I don't think there's any way he can perceive something outside of his opinion because he's so emotional about this. Like the logic here is not good. You could have, there are times where violence erupts in South Africa. There still is a lot of violence in South Africa that is directed at white people. And, like say there's like a full on, I don't know, killing of all the white people in South Africa or something, right? Thousands or how many ever white people are still left in South Africa are getting killed, because they're white. And if that was going on, and then you had people on college campuses like, oh, we need to not allow black people on campus because, they're going to kill all the white people, right? Or they say, just other racist things. Like, you can't sit here and be like, well, because this like horrible thing against someone else's rights in America. Like the logic of this just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's collective punishment.
Yeah.
The thing that they're always
100%.
bitching about.
Yes. And it's funny because like the go-to defense is always, well, they're not being anti-Semitic. There's Jewish people in the protests, and it's like, well, okay, let's let's assume that that's the case, that their protesters are not anti-Semitic, right? So does that mean it's okay for students on college campuses to basically bully and prevent access to areas to any other student for any reason, just because they disagree with them ideologically? Like, just because it's not anti-Semitic, that means it's okay. Just because they're like, oh, I disagree with you about, Israel and Israel's right to exist, or, what's going on here, so I get to, be an asshole to you. Like, why is that acceptable?
Only if you can tie massive amounts of death or violence to the claim. Then you can do whatever you want, evidently.
I mean, it's so, I don't know, it's so ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
There is one case of overwhelming violence, and that happened last night at UCLA. And it was pro-Israeli protesters that violently attacked the peace protesters that didn't do anything. They attacked an old lady and said, oh yeah, good luck trying to defend yourself, old lady. These are vicious, vigilante thugs. And they have done more violence than all of the peace protesters in the country combined.
See, and he just immediately lumps in. So some Israeli protesters get violent, and he's like, all the Israeli protesters are violent. These are all violent thugs.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, it's funny because he started off by saying the only people that are being violent are, this one side. But then you're right. He's like, they are violent thugs. And
yeah, look, he can't help himself. All of his thinking is collectivist thinking. It's all group thinking. Look, and I think the reason why Cenk is so passionate about this is because his identity politics lives inside of Cenk. Cenk Cenk feels any slight against the Palestinian people affects him, affects his status in the world. And he doesn't like that. Seems
Yeah,
obvious to me.
no, you're completely correct. And because he's talked about it openly, he's talked about how after 9/11 he would see so much anti Islam, anti-Arab, ideology, or not ideology, but like sentiment in America, and so he sees this, I guess, as a continuation of that.
Look, we see a lot of anti-white sentiment on
Sure.
Twitter and online and stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, I'm not losing a lot of sleep over it, I got to admit. I mean, it sucks. It totally sucks. And I mean, it could get worse, and that would be
Well,
horrible. But
the difficulty is to be able to look at and say, okay, I can see that there's a lot of racism directed at white people, or a lot of racism directed at, black people, or whatever group, you want to look at it, because there is. But to be able to then say, okay, well, I still need to adjudicate various issues differently without necessarily just immediately falling into the lens of like, well, they're just racist against whatever group, I don't want. And to say like, okay, well, what is actually guiding their ideology? Is it racism? And if it is, like, why is it that way? Like, do I have evidence of that? What's the ideology guiding the movement? Let me look into that, blah, 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 blah. And so far, I mean, I haven't really seen anyone lay out like this whole thing, this whole argument that the people are just racist against Palestinians. That's never really been borne out in anything anyone said or any ideology anyone's put forward. It's just like a gut feeling that people are kind of levying at the situation where the racism against white people and then and associating the Israelis as white people, that's all so directly stated by all the people when they call them settler colonialists, when they tell them to go back to Europe and all these things, right?
yeah, you're right. It is very asymmetrical, isn't it?
Where are the arrests? Where are the arrests? Where are the arrests?
Yeah.
Where are the arrests, Adam?
Arrests. Where's the outrage? Where's the indignation? You pretend that you care about protecting students, but you only care about protecting one side, whereas the other side is assaulted.
No, I don't actually. No, because
and debased and humiliated.
Okay, let me
And
respond.
all you want to do is
Let me
cancel their
respond.
speech. You're part of cancel culture, and admit it right now.
Can I
You're
respond?
talking about protesting people.
Can I respond?
Americans.
Can I respond?
Americans.
By the way,
okay, this is not the United States of Israel.
Fine.
America.
All right, you
Americans
made your
get
point,
to
Cenk.
protest a foreign government.
Okay, let me respond.
I know. I know.
It's so good. This is not the United States of Israel. Okay, here's a question I have, and I don't actually know the answer to this. Because I agree on one level that, and especially in UCLA and these other places, like, I don't want counter protesters, pro-Israel, or just, I think most of the protesters are not pro-Israel. I think they're just anti these, wokeness, essentially. It's kind of how it reads to me when you kind of listen to what they're saying and kind of how they're acting.
They're not
I,
pro-Israel, they're anti-protesters.
well, some of them pro-Israel, but I think it's mostly they're just anti the pro-Palestinian protesters.
I agree.
Right. I don't think that I don't think those guys should be doing violent shit either. I don't think they should be getting into violent fistfights, or scuffles, or trying to rip down the barriers, doing all this shit. I 100% don't think they should be doing any of that stuff either. I don't think there should be violence on college campuses, right? 100%. And so I would be, on one level, I'm like, yeah, if, people are doing violent, like, throw them in jail, lock them up, whatever. But here's the only confounding issue there. If you have these protesters that are setting up encampments, preventing people from accessing parts of the campus, taking over buildings, things of that nature, and the colleges are just not doing anything about it, telling the police to just not intervene, to stand aside or whatever, that doesn't justify people becoming vigilantes, but it's also like I would say it makes the school culpable and responsible for basically cultivating the situation where vigilante violence is going to erupt on campus.
Yeah, and they'll get sued for that, obviously.
Mhm.
If the protesters get out of hand and actually hurt any Jewish students, I'm sure the lawsuit to
anyone.
the school would be like
Right.
immediate.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? The school has the deep pockets, right?
And I guess it's not really clear to me why the schools don't just have the police just pick people up and just, just arrest them one by one. Like, I don't like, why can't they just do that? It's not clear to me what's like why people engage in the tactics that they engage in, why the colleges are engaged or acting the way that they're acting.
Well, aren't they worried about student enrollment dropping next year because they'll get a reputation for being anti-student?
I mean, I think allowing, these massive fights to break out on your college campus are more likely to have enrollment drop than if there was a big protest and police literally just carted people away one by one.
Well, I'm sure that they're worried about enrollment. I'm sure those
Right.
are the two opposing forces. They're like
No, I guess.
liability, enrollment, like they're just trying to juggle all of these oppositional forces. And I mean, it's a tough decision, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have perfect knowledge of all the situation.
Right.
Just to be
You've
clear.
lost the right wing.
Just
You've
to be
lost
clear.
the left wing. You've lost
Still going.
America. America's not going to stand here
Fine.
and let Israel.
Cenk, why do you do this? Why do you immediately, like, he pulls out his soapbox. He's like, look, I'm just going to keep talking.
Right. I don't
Is
know. Is it a good look to people? I mean, I guess if you agree with him, you're like, yeah.
It's just, I want to have a conversation with people. I don't like this, like, broadcasting style of interaction here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I need to broadcast my message.
It's a talking down too. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like it. Cenk, interact.
You can keep shouting or we can have a
allowed
debate.
To speak and who's going to be arrested.
All right, you can keep
I
shouting.
gave you 20 minutes to do propaganda.
Okay.
That's another thing. It's like all of these declarations that he makes usually are like straw man arguments of what the other person says or feels. It's
of course.
Why? Why?
Okay,
go ahead now.
It's not propaganda.
Go
I
ahead
have
now.
many views about all of this. We're talking specifically about the protests at Columbia, which I think you've crossed a line. By the way, you talk about cancel culture. I'm entitled to my view without you and Dr. West screaming liar, genocide supporter, and all this other bullshit.
Okay, you condemn the UCLA pro-Israel thugs.
Let me make it clear.
You condemn them. I'm doing the same thing you are.
Wait a minute.
Do you condemn them?
Wait a
or
minute.
Are you pro-violence?
Stop interrupting me, Jake. Stop interrupting me.
Well, this is completely asymmetrical too, because he's asking, do you condemn the actions that took place on October 7th, which were widely publicized, everybody knows about?
Right.
What happened on the UCLA campus with these protesters? Oh, no, fuck, I wasn't there. Right? Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
What are you asking me to condemn? I don't fucking know.
I think that's what Piers says. He says he doesn't have enough information yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I just told you about it. Oh, you're such a reliable protagonist here.
To answer the question, if this was Jewish students that were breaking into this building violently.
No, you don't have to go with a hypothetical.
No, sorry, I am going to go with the hypothetical because you're trying to make out that somehow I'm only doing this because I'm pro-Israel's government. I'm not pro-Israel's government. What I am pro is the safety of Jewish students being protected because they are not responsible for the actions of an Israel government thousands of miles away. They're entitled, having paid $400,000 for their education.
But you say no, you don't want to protect the peace protesters.
I don't think mob rules should be allowed to go on. So when you talk about this is a private university campus, they are entitled to not have their buildings desecrated in this manner, and they are entitled eventually to have the police remove them.
Be honest. When they were doing it in a public space, everybody in media, in American media, said, "How dare they do it in a public space? They do it in a private place." You go, "How dare they do it in a private place?"
You shouldn't be breaking into buildings full stop.
You know what? When Martin Luther King in Selma, Alabama, crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge, you know what they said? How dare they interrupt the bridge? How dare they go in a public place? How dare those protesters?
This is such a straw man, because why were people? No one was upset about them taking over public places. It was when they forbid other students to enter those places that they crossed the line. Right?
Yeah, well, I think it was two things. It was that, but also, the shouting of Intifada, the shouting from the river to the sea, the shouting of some of the pro-Hamas stuff.
Intimidating other students, right?
Right, yeah.
As soon as you start infringing on other people's rights, abilities to move, abilities to feel safe, that's when the line was crossed. He's
Yeah.
making it sound like everybody came out and they were just nice, peaceful protesters. They weren't saying incendiary things about certain students that made them feel unsafe. I mean, obviously, that's like a completely different conversation on whether or not people should be able to say, look, I think we should genocide this population, and that's free speech or not, right? That's a completely different conversation. But to make it seem like, oh, they were just out there voicing their concerns and everyone got upset with them, that's not true.
And
Civil rights.
I think if the protesters dropped all the From the River to the Sea garbage and the Intifada garbage and some of the other obviously more pro-Hamas garbage, and they were just like, ceasefire, peace, stop killing people, stop genociding. Like, it was all just like very peace focused as opposed to like very vehemently like Zionism is evil, Israel shouldn't exist. I think the entire national perspective of all these movements would be very different, even if they were doing the exact same things.
I totally agree. Yeah. But I don't necessarily know if they were still intimidating people, keeping people out of the space.
Well,
I mean,
I guess that
obviously.
wouldn't make sense in the well, it depends. If they were just saying like, I mean, I don't agree with it, but if they were just saying like pro peace, pro peace, pro peace, and they were like, oh, this, and people were yelling at them like, they were like very pro Israel, saying like, oh, how dare you, blah, blah, blah. I just think it would read completely different to everyone's perspective, which is what it was for like most of the beginnings of the protest. This is why the shift occurred.
As soon as they start demanding people exit their space, that's when they become the bullies.
Right.
This is complete nonsense. Cenk is acting like they were never the bullies.
Yes.
When they are the bullies, and that's where they cross the line.
Well, it's they're not the bullies because because their cause is just, essentially, right?
Yeah, which is bonkers.
Yeah.
Rights leaders should know their role, should know their place, boy. That's what people like everyone in.
That's how you can tell it's identity politics right there. Every time Cenk says, boy,
I know.
Boy.
So angry.
Yeah.
American media is saying right now to the people in favor of not slaughtering any more Palestinians.
Yeah, I think
you guys sound exactly like Bull Connor.
Okay, I know you have to go. I just want to just bring you back in just briefly.
He said he sounds like Bull Connor, famous, famous racist, anti-civil rights guy. So
yeah, look, it's awful.
So here, let me jump ahead a bit.
Given that there has been clear intimidation and harassment of Jewish students, it's been broadcast. We've seen the videos of it. You cannot be happy as a professor there that Jewish students are being harassed and intimidated because people are critical of what an Israel government's doing thousands of miles away. That is my point.
Of course. That goes without saying. I try to be a decent person in my life.
So you agree with me? After that diatribe, you agree with me?
All you want to talk about is protection of Jews.
It's not all I want to talk about, Cornel. But that is actually what this debate is about.
Organizations that are banned back in October. Did you say a word about that? When you got massive children at universities and hospitals completely leveled, and you have something on your Twitter rather than make that part of the framing of the issue, then in fact you become an extension of propaganda. And that's why I call you a racist, because it means then that a Palestinian
how dare you? Honestly, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but how dare you?
You wouldn't frame it in that way, my brother. You would not frame it in that way.
I'm sorry, but you how dare you call me a racist? What you don't know is, before I did this debate, I did a long interview with one of the IDF spokesmen in which I went after him about their planned invasion of Rafah because I think it would be a catastrophic mistake. So don't call me a racist. And don't assume
Don't assume Biden believes the Palestinian life has the same value as Israeli life?
Yes, I do.
Absolutely not.
Yes, I do.
More fiber in his bone when it comes to Palestinian predicament.
I absolutely believe
think that's an answer to me?
I believe Palestinian lives matter just as much as any other lives, and I've always said that. Always.
It's not manifesting your framing, brother. It's not manifesting.
Okay. There's two interesting things I think is happening here. Obviously, as I already said, Cornel West, he's got the CRT book behind him. He obviously buys into it completely. He by calling Piers racist is kind of showing he's projecting his own racism.
Oh, he is.
he's just making all these grand assumptions about Pierce's behavior based on the fact that he can't understand Pierce's opinion whatsoever. He's not really listening to him. He doesn't really want to understand him, and he's like, well, he's white, so it must be like a race issue, right?
Yeah,
When
exactly.
this is like a perfect Jonathan Haidt situation, which is a lot of people on the left, unfortunately, since they're so motivated by care, harm, and fairness, and they kind of miss some of the other things. There's, I don't know if it's not really like a direct moral foundation, but it's like a combination probably of other things. A lot of people on the left don't seem to really give a shit whatsoever about order at all, really. Like, or I guess they care about it, but they care about it second. Like, if order is not serving their if order is not serving their moral cause, they don't really have a lot of consideration for it. I don't think they really care as like a concept of order. They only care about order in terms of, is it establishing the correct moral framework? Where people who are
what do you mean by order? Like the status quo?
Like stability. Stability, civility,
okay.
Maintaining safety in society.
Okay.
Like like people who are in the center or people on the right, they have a fear
of barbarism, yes.
Of barbarism, yes.
Yes.
There's a fear of barbarism, and there's a fear of this like breakdown of society into barbarism that people on the left do not manifest like at all.
I agree.
And I think
they're more motivated by fear of oppression.
Yes. Now these are both real fears. There is a real fear of oppression, there's a real fear of barbarism. But that's the problem, is that people on the left just don't perceive, especially on the far left, they don't perceive that fear whatsoever. They don't, and here, you don't even have to agree with it, but the fact that they don't even perceive it, they don't even understand it. And because Cornel West doesn't even understand this fear of barbarism, he doesn't understand where Piers or other people are coming from, where they look at college kids doing this crazy shit, and it kind of sends off that emotional fear of barbarism, fear of the breakdown of things. And that's kind of why they're like, I don't really like where this is going.
It's funny because it does really play into them being collectivists, because they see collectivism as kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, where people on the right think, organizing society, collective action is really difficult and can easily be destroyed.
Right.
And they don't necessarily see that. They think, look, you just destroy everything and everyone collectivizes again immediately.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's that. I think it's the combination of that and, what I always say about how people on the left view all the problems from coming from existing structures and societies, which is why they're, as you said, very afraid of oppression, but they're not afraid of barbarism. So
sometimes you say I shuddered because sometimes you say the inside outside thing, which I don't really agree with, but I do think that they see society, they see institutions as constrictive.
That is the inside outside thing.
Right. Well, I mean, there can be there can be external institutions outside of the nation. There can be internal institutions. The internal external thing doesn't really. We should hash that out on another live stream.
Okay.
I would love to do an entire live stream on that.
We'll do an entire live stream on that.
Yes.
Don't throw around the word racist without any evidence to support the fact that I'm a racist.
I hear a lot of evidence, and I've been hearing it.
Bullshit. And bullshit. You be throwing that racism term around like candy on Halloween.
Evidence, and I throw it around. It's not throwing around. It's a reality.
Me saying it is wrong that Jewish students are being harassed is not racism, because I'm not also talking about universities being flattened in Gaza.
This is the thing. Like, if you don't care enough about our issue, you're a racist. That's what he's saying.
Because they literally don't understand anyone else's perspective. Cornel doesn't understand the other side at all.
Yep. Sad.
I think that's all you talk about.
You're being totally disingenuous.
All right, Cenk, I'll bring you in.
No, please. Okay, look, Piers.
Do you like? He's like, no. Oh, wait, you want to bring me in? Never mind. Yes,
What did the other woman ever get to speak?
she did. But
Oh, okay.
it's not that interesting, so I kind of went through it. But
Uh,
listen, I'm a sexist. I just cut out the
yes,
woman. You know?
yeah.
You keep going
Typical.
back to the most obvious question in the world. Should Jewish students be protected from harassment or assault?
Yes.
Obviously.
So you
Hold on.
both
Let me
agree
finish.
with me?
No,
So
no.
why does that make me a
Let
racist?
me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. So that's the most obvious point in the world. And I already told you that I have Jewish family. I have a nephew who wears a Star of David on a college campus. I will go and help the people that are escorting them to their classes, etc. That is not an issue. But what you just did was you spent now 20 to 30 minutes framing it like that is the biggest issue and everyone is saying, oh no, we should attack the Jewish students, when no one is saying that. In reality, hold on, in reality, vigilante thugs last night attacked the peace protesters at UCLA who had done nothing wrong. It was a violent attack. They beat them with sticks, they pepper sprayed them, and yet I asked you a simple question. You've got now 20 to 30 minutes of propaganda saying, oh, the Palestinian protesters, the peace protesters, they hate the Jews, they're anti-Semites, all the Jews are in danger, etc. And I'm saying, of course, let's protect them. And then you make it seem like that's the 98% of the issue, when in reality, the only protesters that have been massively violent are the pro-Israel protesters. And to this...
See, he's not even arguing that the reality is that both sides have violent outliers. He's saying, no, my side has 0 violent outliers and your side has all the violent outliers.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I mean, there's this weird thing that's like, I mean, you have essentially before the big UCLA blow up, you know, you have the students, they're, you know, creating these encampments, they're, you know, they're preventing some people from accessing certain points or taking over a building. Like the reason there hasn't been a lot of violence from their side is because people are just kind of like letting them do whatever they want. It was only until the UCLA thing that there's actually a bunch of people that kind of engage in this vigilantism, right?
Yeah. I don't know the details of that situation though. So
Mhm.
for all I know, the protesters started it.
It's a lot of like, no, it's like, it's so annoying. Whenever you see these things, there's so much LARPing that goes on into stuff.
Oh, of course.
You know, and it's like, you could tell people don't really want to get involved in like a full on, you know, brawl. So they do that, you know, like the dogs barking on like the fence on each side, and then like the
Oh,
door
yeah.
opens and then they just kind of stand there awkwardly. Like that's kind of what happens in all these situations. And like that was like a lot of it, you know, that's why there people are throwing fireworks, which you know is dangerous, but it's not, you know, there wasn't like this full on like people just marching through with like nightsticks trying to like beat the crap out of each other. You know, it's not like the wall video or, you know, something, you know, like that. It's a lot of this like stupid play activism, play fighting, which can lead to real violence. And obviously colleges should not allow to happen, but
I don't know what Piers's framing was in the very beginning. Is he just talking about Piers saying that the protesters are saying from the river to the sea, and that makes the Jewish students feel uncomfortable?
well,
And Cenk is spinning that into just him saying that the protesters are violent.
this is the problem. This is what always happens when, and maybe Pierce is doing this intentionally, or maybe it's just these people that they have on are dumb, is that they'll have someone on, and, you know, Pierce is, you know, he's not some kind of like massively pro-Israel guy. I've heard him, you know, do a lot of pushback whenever he has the, you know, the very pro-Israeli people on a show, but they come on and he talks to them and he says, hey, you know, don't you think it's wrong to take over, you know, college buildings, restrict access, say from the river to the sea, and say intifada? And the people start fighting him on that. They, you know, they don't want to acknowledge that usually. They don't directly say it's okay. They just kind of like try to change the subject or, you know, say a bunch of other stuff. And so because they don't have a direct answer to that question and Pierce just keeps hitting on it, they have like a 20, 30-minute conversation about it.
Yeah, that
Because
happened
they
in the beginning with the woman who wouldn't admit that the intifada was violent.
Exactly. But then you have Cenk come in and say, well, you've been talking about this for 20, 30 minutes. Like, well, that's because no one ever gives a straight answer on it. That's what drags the conversation out for 20, 30 minutes. If the woman in the beginning just said either number one, you know, oh, I agree with you, I think it's bad, or even say, you know what, I think it's justifiable to do these actions and because the cause is so great. Then what would then Pierce would just be like, oh, well, I disagree with that. But there isn't really much else to say, right? It's just because they never actually want to address it and like bite the bullet on that position.
Yeah, they can. It's an ugly position.
Second, not only did you mention it for
That's
about
not
two and
true.
a half seconds
I even
out of
have a
20
video
minutes,
on my
but you
Twitter
still haven't condemned
of
them. So do you
pro-Palestinians
condemn them,
tasing
Piers,
people.
the violent thugs?
I
the
deliberately,
thugs that
I
you
deliberately,
pro-Israel
I
protesters?
deliberately held off writing or commenting about what was going on in Colombia for quite a few days, and I will do the same about what happened at UCLA until I've actually established
Of
for
course.
my. Well, hang on.
Super
No,
convenient.
sorry, it happened overnight,
Super
and I will
convenient.
wait and see the facts. And when I get the facts, I will pass judgment without fear or favor, and certainly without any racism. Now, Javier.
See, Cenk sees that as an assault on him because he's like, I gave you all the factual information, Piers. You should just trust me.
Right.
It does seem as though he doesn't trust Cenk, so it makes
Well, I
him
mean,
look bad.
Yeah, Cenk is obviously highly biased in the situation. So, I mean, you shouldn't necessarily trust his view of the thing.
Well, that makes him look bad too. Like if he
Right.
was more reasonable, he might actually trust him, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were there last
And
night.
Piers, hold on.
Hang on,
On the
Cenk.
racism charge?
Hang on.
No, because everyone who defends Palestinians in this country, no matter what they say, like I'm a perfect example. I condemn Hamas. I want to protect the Jewish students. I want a beautiful pro-Palestine and Israel. I want two states. And we're called anti-Semites, including by your guests, 24/7. The minute someone calls
I've
you a
never called
racist
you an
back 'cause Muslim
anti-Semite.
lives don't matter,
I've never
all
called-
of a sudden everybody catches feelings.
Yeah, except I haven't called-
Which
except-
only goes one way. It
Except
only goes one way, right?
No, I tell you
this
what.
the
I've
media
never called
in this country.
I have never called you an anti-Semite. I've never called Dr. West an
That's right, but
anti-Semite.
almost every guest
I've never
of yours
called
has.
either of you racist, and yet both of you have gone along with calling me a racist, even though I'm not. So yeah, if you're going
Look
to
at
dish
your
it
framing.
out,
Look
if you're
at
going to
your.
dish
Are
it
you going to
out,
ignore the
be very
framing,
careful.
Piers? Piers, are you going to?
That's so true.
It
Like,
is.
you've been calling me a racist this whole interview,
Yes.
and I'm
Yeah.
not allowed to call you an anti-Semite? Come on.
Well,
Fair is fair.
and it's funny because like Pierce literally throws it to Cenk in the beginning by saying like you've been one of the more reasonable voices on the
Oh,
conversation.
true.
Right?
Yeah.
Like he literally, gives them a praise right in the beginning, and then, there's no reciprocal,
No.
behavior in that. It is weird, and this is a very classic human way that this always happens in these conversations, these contentious debates, where like whoever you're talking to becomes the avatar for like every grievance you have about the issue, or becomes a representative of every,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
everyone else relating to that issue. So, and then just because if you fall prey to that, which Cenk just did, obviously at this moment, he's like he's throwing all these things at Pierce, which, are not remotely warranted because he's so emotional about it.
Right.
Ignore the framing. You know you framed it this way, and Piers, you're not alone.
You were
and you're
booked,
not the
all
main
of you,
culprit.
just to be clear.
Hold on, Piers. Let me
Sorry.
give you a little bit of credit.
Right, okay.
You are open
Just-
to the Palestinian position 20% of the time.
Just to be
okay?
clear.
That's why I come back on this
Just
show.
to be
but
clear.
the American media is filled with racist against
Right.
Muslims. American politicians are racist against Muslims, and they revel in it. Rivers of blood in Gaza. And the American politicians and the American media say, not enough, kill them more, Israel, kill them more.
Yeah, just
And
to
then
be
anyone
clear.
who objects to the wide slaughter of those people
Okay.
is called an anti.
It's just, look, I can't stand this. I really can't, because look, he thinks that the reason people have the positions they have in the Israel Gaza situation is because of racism. When I
Yeah.
think most of it is because of the October 7th. Most people intuitively, their gut intuitions are what they did on October 7th was horrible, and Israel deserves retribution,
Mhm.
irregardless of race. If they were if it was another nation of Jewish people, it wouldn't make a difference. They'd say, look, those Jewish people, whatever nation it was, they're going to get even, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, especially 100% with the October, after October 7th. I think before October 7th, it's kind of interesting. I think before October 7th, people were probably generally more on Israel's side, just overall in general. And I don't think it's because of racism, the way that Cenk is framing it. I think it's because people view Israel as a Western liberal democracy like America. A West like so they view it as like the people in Israel share their values, share a way of life that they look at and say, okay, I could like live there and I think I could be safe and I could interact with those people, which is just kind of like a natural intuitive thing. If you look at people that are like you and kind of seem to share your kind of general morals, you're going to be more likely to be on their side. And then the people look at the Palestinians and they say, okay, well, I don't know about the average life of the average Palestinian because they don't, but I see like Hamas, right? And I see like, these sorts of more extremist elements, and they seem to be running the country. And obviously, my values don't align with those people whatsoever. So therefore, I'm going to be more inclined to side with Israel. And I think that's like 95% of people's general intuitions before October 7th about the issue that were on the pro-Israel side. And it's kind of interesting because I think the people that are like on the vehemently anti-Israel side, like obviously Israel has done a lot of things wrong, and people who listen to the stream for years have heard me talk about how horrible I think the settlers are in the West Bank. But I do think that a lot of the vehemently like emotionally angry, visceral feelings against Israel that some people on the left and the far left have. I mean, it's hard for me to see that as being anything other than just either motivated by racism, kind of looking at it the CRT lens, or just like looking at it through this very simplistically stupid anti-Western democracy lens.
Yeah, which maps onto oppressor oppressed.
Right.
Yeah, they see them as oppressors.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think they could see them as oppressors outside of the race lens in the same way that a lot of people are seeing the Palestine, Israel, Gaza conflict outside of race. They're just seeing it as, the events have kind of cast this conflict in the way that it has, regardless of race.
Well, like if theoretically, like say after World War II, instead of Israel, they carved a chunk of like Germany off and they gave it to the Jews, like the Allied powers did this, and you had some like wacky situation. Let's just say like, you have the exact same situation going on with Israel, same history, except it's with white Germans instead of Palestinians. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think most of these leftists would give a shit whatsoever.
Of course
that was
not.
the case.
Of
right?
course not. Because they would be able to see it that it was, Germans fighting Germans.
Yeah, or it's just because it'd be like, oh, they're white Germans, their ancestors were bad people, they deserve it. Like even though those things shouldn't really have relevancy in the conversation, I think they would see it completely differently.
It would be like Christian Germans against Jewish Germans.
Yeah, right.
So they would just, they wouldn't be able to. They're like, there's no race element here. What's happening? What's going on? I don't get it.
Right.
Why are these people fighting?
Just to be clear,
the American media is sick.
Just to be clear, you were all booked to take part in a debate specifically about the protests at Columbia. So when you're asking, why am I focusing on the protests at Columbia? That is why you were all booked for this segment and debate. So don't try and be disingenuous with viewers and make out that you were booked for any wider purpose, because you weren't. I wanted to debate all the issues around what's going on at Columbia. And what is interesting to me...
Let's talk about Columbia.
Let me finish.
Let's talk about Columbia.
Let me finish.
Those peace protesters are the same ones that
I'm sorry, you don't just keep talking on my show. I'm sorry.
Banished and propagandized against like people like you.
Don't interrupt me. Oh, wait, sorry.
Yeah, I'm not a propagandist, I'm not a racist or any of these things, right?
War is always great. Peace is always the bad guys.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
It is
it's
absurd.
Insanity.
Yeah. I agree with you about it being absurd.
Piers, do you get that we are vomiting your propaganda? We can't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
It isn't just about you. It's all of media, all of the politicians with their nonstop propaganda that the people in favor of peace, the people who want to protect innocent lives, are somehow pro-terrorists, are the bad guys, are the anti-Semites, are the racists, etc.
I mean, you're on the same side as the pro-terrorists, right? I mean, there are a lot of people who agree with what Hamas did on October 7th. And they're on your side, Cenk.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always careful to do like there's bad people on your side because there's always bad people on all sides, right? But
of course, look, and if Cenk was making that argument here, if he was going, oh, look, there's bad people on our side, but there's bad people on your side too, it'd be one thing.
You're right.
But he's not. He's basically saying, look, all the bad people on your side, all the pro-Israel people are thugs, and all of my people are peaceful protesters. It's laughable. It's
That's
laughably biased, which is why we're watching the clip in the first place, right?
We're sick of the overwhelming propaganda.
Yeah, I'm
Did I cut you off? Were you going to say something?
No.
Okay.
pretty
Against
sick
these
of being
poor
called a
people.
racist by you guys. So we've all got our crosses there. Let me bring.
Whether the IDF were terrorists.
Look, Piers is such a class act. That's
I know.
such a class move. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sick of being called a racist, but you know, we all have our cross to bear.
Are the IDF a terrorist organization killing innocent children? Yes or no?
Oh, I do not believe
Answer
they're
the
a
question,
terrorist
Piers.
organization. No.
Oh, come on.
they're not.
Of course
So
they're
when you-
terrorists.
Oh, come on! This is hilarious. This is
Yeah.
hilarious. Look, he's gonna say they're terrorists. All the Jewish people are terrorists. Say it. They're thugs and terrorists.
Well, here's my question. If the IDF are terrorists and Hamas are terrorists, are the IDF just like much shittier at being terrorists than Hamas?
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, this is why you have to address this. I mean, I would assume even Cenk would acknowledge if the IDF was acting with the same philosophy and ideology that Hamas was acting, but just, against Palestinians, wouldn't like the death toll be in the hundreds of thousands by now?
No, he won't acknowledge that. He'll say they're doing it on the sly, they're doing it secretly. That's why the collateral damage numbers are so high. You know, he believes that the collateral damage numbers could be near zero. And they're acting in a way to get those collateral damage numbers up.
Right.
Purposefully. That's what he believes. Yeah.
They're at war. There's a big difference between being at war and being a terrorist.
No, you may think they are, Cornel, and you may think they are, Cenk. You've
It's
asked me a
war.
question. I do not think they are. Okay?
Based on what?
Do I think the
Palestinian lives
IDF?
don't matter.
Do I think the IDF has very serious questions to answer about the way they are executing this war? Absolutely. Do we have international
killing
criminal
innocent
courts?
people?
Do we have criminal courts and laws and rules to hold them to account?
You're gonna wait
Absolutely.
for the
And do I want them to be held to account? Damn right I do, yeah. And do I think they should be invading Rafah? No, I do not.
Don't mean that much to you,
Let
man.
me-
Come on.
Oh, it does mean
don't
as much
mean
to
that
me.
much.
Let me bring in Javier
No,
again.
they don't mean that much.
Javier,
You're just talking.
Javier, this debate has got very...
I just can't believe this. Sitch, I can't believe this guy is a college professor too.
College professor who is running for president.
He can't even control himself.
No.
Oh, so it's just so bad. So bad optically. He seems like a pea brain. He seems very, very small minded.
That's true. That's a good point. I didn't even think about it. You're right. It's just even if you, well, I don't know, people that agree with him because they have the same level of emotion. They're just like, it's so outrageous. They're feeling the Cenk stuff. But I think even if you agree with it, but you're not in this hyper emotional state, you're like, yeah, this is not a good look. It's a really bad look.
Yeah. He just to simplify all the complexities of the issue down to racism just seems dumb to me. It definitely seems dumb and disinterested in reality.
unpleasant for reasons that are slightly lost on me, given what the debate was supposed to... Cornel, let Javier speak, okay? Javier, you were there.
Absolutely. Javier has been very patient.
Javier, you were there last night, and it's been pictured by Cenk as it was simply a bunch of very violent pro-Israel protesters attacking completely innocent pro-Palestinian protesters. What was your experience there? What did you see?
I mean, that's not what happened there, and it's not what's happened at any of these universities. I don't know why he's trying to portray it as if the pro-Palestinians are there peacefully. I also have a video on my Twitter of a pro-Palestinian chasing after a Jewish man trying to tase him because she didn't like what was on his sign. I also saw a man go and spit on a woman's dog simply because she was on the Zionist side.
Does Cenk just think he's a liar? Like, what's going on here? Why is Cenk just completely ignore everything that he's saying? He thinks this guy is going on this show just lying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty bold.
So no, it's not this situation where you have the pro-Palestinians who are just sitting there in their encampment and not doing anything. These people have continuously been violent. And I mean, even just looking over at what happened in Colombia, you're not busting into windows and breaking into buildings if you're there to be peaceful and to be protesting peacefully. That's not the case. So you are disingenuous, Cenk, if you're going to sit here and pretend that the pro-Palestinians are just being innocent. I don't understand how you could even see it in that way.
Brother, last
Javier,
2
are you
weeks
going to
ago,
sit
brother,
here?
the
There's
police
videos
came and they
online.
were peaceful.
Are you going to
I
sit
was
here
there
and
with
lie
them. They
to
were
everyone and
peaceful.
say that the pro-Israel side didn't attack?
They're both so triggered that even though they're both on the same side, they just talk over each other and shout. And you can't even understand. It's hilarious.
I don't get it.
That's so bad.
Yeah, please.
Well, you both spoke over each other, so we didn't hear what either person said.
Okay.
Piers is great, isn't he? He's like, oh, you dumb fucks. Trying to do a show here.
Okay, all right, let me just ask Javier, who's obviously lying about this.
Oh.
There's videos.
It's so bad. He's so bad. That's just so uncivil. It's
He's
just
obviously lying about it, Adam. Okay.
And it can't just be, look, you were at different places in the protest. There was that one woman that supposedly got her eye poked out by a protester, which turned out to be a bunch of
Nonsense.
a bunch of nonsense. So,
Right.
look, this taser thing could be a bunch of nonsense. I don't know.
It's online
I don't know.
of the
man.
pro-Israel
Here's a
side,
video of it.
clearly attacking the pro-Palestinian side with sticks and fireworks and pepper spray. Are you going to sit here and lie on television and say to everyone that that didn't happen? Because go ahead, you lose all credibility. Go ahead, liar.
Oh, this is so bad. This debate is just so pointless because it's easy to acknowledge that both sides have violent outliers, and that's going to happen. That's part of human nature. But both sides are using those violent outliers to just condemn the entire other side and paint their side as just perfect angels who would never do anything. It's like, look what this debate is so far from reality.
Mm-hmm.
Just what is the point of this?
Mm-hmm.
What is the point of just basically trying to make your side out to be innocent angels? Nobody believes that.
Mm-hmm.
They were fighting back. And don't call me a liar. I'm not here to sit here and name call and be childish like you at your big age. But
yeah, you just called them
the pro-Palestinian side. There was a woman who was put in the hospital because she was hit in the head.
Innocent all of a sudden. Yeah, you just
they were being dirty. You don't sit there and poop in a gender-neutral bucket and sit there and act like you're not dirty. I called the health department.
Did they really poop in a general gender-neutral bucket?
So the one of the parts that we did play, it was he was talking about he actually infiltrated one of these encampments. I think it was in Colombia, and he talked about how they had a bucket. Or no, I guess it was UCL. I don't know. He infiltrated some encampment somewhere, and he talked about how there was like gender neutral buckets that people were pooing and peeing in. And it was just like disgusting.
They had a poop bucket.
Yeah, he was saying it was just like the foul smell, and the whole thing, the whole encampment was dirty and everything. I love it.
Oh, and that's racism, right? Pointing out the poop bucket.
Yeah, I guess the actual conditions were dirty there, so
Oh.
I thought black
filthy.
people,
The way that they're behaving is.
I thought black people were allowed to call white people dirty, and that was not racist. I thought that was totally acceptable.
Depends upon who was pooping in the gender neutral bucket.
Okay.
Filthy. I don't hate Muslims, but I do hate Muslim extremism. I have a lot of fundamental issues with the Muslim extremism that's going on in the world. If the only way that you can get your point across is going and raping and beheading people, then you're probably a terrorist and you're probably an extremist. I do have an issue with that. I do have an issue with the fact that you show an ankle and you're killed in some of these nations. Oh, no, I'm racist. I'm not racist. I don't have any issue with Muslims in general. I didn't say, did I not just say extremists? I just said extremists, but you chose to hear what you wanted to hear. It is filthy to shit into a bucket. I wasn't even just talking about the Muslims. I was talking about in the encampment. The encampment is disgusting. They're all sitting there with unwashed behinds, protesting and screaming out for the bloodshed of Jews and Christians worldwide. So yeah, I have a problem with that. I have a fundamental issue with that. Is that such a big deal?
Okay, so this is amazing. I'm glad we made it to this part.
Oh
This
yeah,
is
no, the Ed is
incredible.
hilarious. Yeah.
But Javier,
Nonsense.
Propaganda.
Do
You
you
get
believe
What did I
that
lie
the
about?
IDF
Where was
do
the
you
lie?
believe the
Where was the
IDF
lie?
Oh, now he's going to press him on the IDF. Is the IDF a terrorist organization?
Well, you
or
see
what?
that? Jank said, "Who's paying you?"
Oh, no way.
He did.
Oh, no way. He's got the money in politics meme in his head. He
I
doesn't.
know.
Everyone is getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting paid.
IDF, if you want to
we're-
sponsor us, hit us up, okay?
We're getting paid by Metal Face.
So there you go.
Who's paying you, Javier? Who's paying you,
Do you
The
Javier?
pro-Palestinian side started the aggression. They started the violence
Who's
when they went and
paying
they
you?
attacked that Jewish
Well,
girl
you see
who
there, you
went to
don't
the
know what you're
hospital
talking
that night,
about.
and then things began to escalate.
You don't know what you're talking about. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's like saying Nat Turner he was the cause of the whole issue of white supremacy because he's responding to white supremacy. That's ridiculous.
I can't. I'm so bored of the who started it game. It
I
always
know.
boils down to the who started it game.
I know.
Yeah.
It's a
Ugh.
bad. Yeah, you just gotta throw it away.
And you know it's ridiculous.
Why are we still
But I
talking
would
about
ask
white
you a question.
supremacy in 2024? Why are we still talking about that hundreds of years
Uh-oh.
later?
Because I'm a college professor. That's where I make my money, bitch. That's who's paying me.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
It's true.
No, I know. I know.
It's totally true. Look, you could go on.
Well, no, I mean, I think he honestly believes it. I think he's convinced himself to believe it.
Look, if you look at his classes, his syllabus for the semester, his class load for the semester, obviously it's all a bunch of race classes, isn't it?
Well, for Cornel, yeah, obviously, sure.
Yeah, he's not teaching
I understand that. Yeah,
algebra.
right.
Get out of here.
Black people
What do
right.
white people do that black people can't? How is white supremacy even still on the forefront of your mind? You're stuck in the past. You're stuck in these dated issues, and that's what the problem really starts for
now
you.
you really revealing
This
I
guy's
love
pretty
this.
based. Yeah, I don't even like this guy. He's awesome.
your ignorance, brother. You don't think white supremacy has anything to do with what's going on in Gaza at all?
How am I ignorant?
Is that right?
I've been
Is that what
black
you're
for
saying?
27
Is that
years,
what
and
you
I
are
have
Wait,
never.
wait. I gotta back here. What Cornel just
Well,
said.
that- really starts for
now
you.
you're really revealing your ignorance, brother. You don't think white supremacy has anything to do with what's going on in Gaza at all?
Okay, so there it is. I mean, he said, do you really think white supremacy doesn't have anything to do with what's going on in Gaza right now?
Yeah, amazing catch. That's exactly right.
Yep, he sees it. As I would keep saying, they keep seeing it as this weird race issue.
Yeah.
How am I ignorant?
Is that right?
I've been
Is that
black
what you're
for
saying?
27
Is that
years,
what
and
you
I
are
have never
saying,
been
though?
inferior to a white person. What is the white supremacy that is affecting your life? I would like to hear it.
Nobody in your family has
I
ever
would like to
been
hear it. What can't I do that a
Nobody
white
else
person
in your
can
family
do?
has ever been mistreated, right? You one of the few black people never been mistreated. Okay, all right. I see.
Saying that I've never
I
been
see.
mistreated. Every demographic has been mistreated. White people get mistreated
I'm
all
talking
the
about
time.
because I'm talking
Every
about because
demographic is
of
getting
who you
mistreated.
are.
There
You
is
think
prejudice from
white
every single
supremacy has
demographic.
nothing
So I don't
do
understand what you think that is so unique to black people for.
All right.
brother.
You know what? I've got to bring
Man.
this. I've got to bring this debate to an end. It was supposed to be
Uh-oh,
specifically.
Cornel, I assume he's got, good money. He's like a famous person. He needs to get like a microphone that's not like a tin can or like a laptop microphone or something, right? Like, come on. Come on.
Yeah,
I
and
want
look,
to hear
we're-
the dumb things that he's yelling when he's trying to talk over this guy.
You learn where your camera is, dude.
About the protests. I'm sorry that it got so heated and personally abusive. I would like to make it clear.
It wasn't your fault, Piers.
I would like to make it clear to Cornel and to Cenk, I'm not a racist, and I genuinely care about the safety of Jewish students at that university. That's it. And that doesn't mean I don't care about what's happening in Gaza or the journalists there or the universities there or any of those things, because actually I do. And I've expressed my concern about that many times.
Let's see it in your reporting. Let's see it in your reporting.
Well, if you bother to watch it, Cornel, you would know. If you bother to watch it, you would know.
Over and over and over again, brother.
Yeah.
That's why I come on your show.
Then you would not. Then you would not call me a racist. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. You don't have a right to call me a racist without evidence, and you didn't have any.
Oh, please, brother. When the evidence is overwhelming, you can't even say the IDF is involved in terrorists and Palestinians, but Hamas terrorizes all the time. Palestinian lives don't mean the same as Israeli lives for you.
Yeah,
Admit it.
they do.
Wrestle with that in the midnight hour.
They do.
Wrestle with that in the midnight
I mean, I've lost all respect for Cornel West after this video.
I mean, I never
really
had
have.
respect for. Well, I haven't had respect for him for a long time. But
Okay. Well,
I
look,
know.
if I had one little
Yeah.
tiny crumb of
It's
respect
gone
for
now.
him, it's completely erased. Yeah.
Yes. The mouse
Yeah.
of shouting and calling racism came by and ate that last little crumb and
Yeah,
then wandered
exactly.
off. Yeah.
Look, if your worldview is you agree with me on everything or you're a racist, you're a fucking dick. Okay? You're a fucking dick. And Cornel
Well,
West is a king prick in this entire
yeah.
conversation.
He 100% is, and he should say, like, and here's how you could have the conversation for real, as if he feels this way, say, well, why, like, what is your justification for calling Hamas terrorists versus calling IDF terrorists, so that I can like hear your justification before I start, saying you're a big racist, on your show,
Yeah,
right?
that's a
But they don't
great
even wait. They just,
distinction.
yeah, they never, people don't wait. They don't even try to understand the positions. They're like, well, what exactly, where are they coming from? They just say, nope, you're racist. You're a bad person. You don't agree with me.
Yeah. Cornel West is a piece of shit. I'll forever believe that Cornel West is a piece of shit.
Hmm.
Yeah. I liked his brother bit, but now it just seems completely
My
disingenuous.
brother.
Yeah. He seemed to be someone that cared about civility for a bit there, but I don't know, just
Hmm.
yeah. Maybe he had too many 5-hour energy drinks today or something because he's just like he's just insane.
Uh-huh.
This guy's lost his mind, lost his marbles.
What is the point? This is completely irrelevant, but someone asked me this question and I just kind of looked at them dumbfounded because I didn't know. What is the point of drinking Red Bulls instead of drinking coffee?
I don't know. Yeah.
It's like the same caffeine content and coffee
Is
tastes a
it?
thousand times better. Yeah, it is.
I didn't. Yeah, I don't like Monster energy drinks at all.
Oh,
So.
well, I don't know about Monster, but Red Bulls are.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
like. I don't get it. Coffee tastes so much better than those energy drink garbage. Why? Like, why? What's the point, guys? Someone explain this to me.
You know, I may have drank a Red Bull once and it was completely disgusting. And I think I have drank Monsters multiple times because it's slightly less disgusting, but still not delicious, right? I mean,
I
I'd
feel
much
like
rather have like a Pepsi or coffee, like you're saying.
sure.
Yeah.
I've never had a Monster. I've had a Red Bull. I've had other energy drinks. They always have like this weird perfume flavor that I don't get. Like why someone wants to drink. Like I feel like you're drinking a bottle of perfume.
Yeah. Supposedly caffeine is tasteless, right? Why can't they just make it taste like water?
Yeah, I don't know if they can make it taste exactly, but yeah, they make it taste like anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Cornel West moves over to the piece of shit column.
How is it
Shame on-
terrorism when you're at war?
Like I said to
Shame
you,
on you,
I don't
brother.
think you
And this
understand the
brother right here
definition of
talking about he got
terrorism.
I
nothing to do with
value
white
every.
You know who has no shame in this conversation? You, Cornel West. You.
Every
Yeah,
life,
but see, he's
I
living
value
in a
every
different
life
world.
as equally important, even yours, Cornel.
How would white
But listen,
supremacy
I've gotta
benefit me? I
leave
want
it.
you to tell me that. I'm the
Yours
blackest
too.
person in LA County.
And yours too. And yours too. You racist.
Yours too.
I've got to leave it there. Look, I value all of your lives. I value coming on the program. I'm sorry things got so personal, but we move on and we'll continue debating it. I believe that out of all the debate, hopefully, we will get some solutions and we'll get to a better place. So thank you for joining me.
So there you
Piers
go.
Morgan turns out to be the big winner in this debate. That's for sure.
Yeah, I gotta check out that guy. His name is Xavier DeRusso. I think that's how you say his name.
Chant. That's what we're.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. It's a
I'm
good
just trying
freeze
to
frame of them
Get
yelling
a
at each
good
other.
screen
Yeah.
cap.
All right.
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
Xavier
what were you saying?
DeRusso, and there's a video. I don't know anything about him because it's the first time I've ever seen him. He does like PragerU stuff, which
Oh, the
can,
black guy?
yeah, the young black guy who kind of infiltrated the encampment. He does PragerU stuff, which is obviously a very mixed bag. But he has some video I'm gonna check out. It's like it's called How I Accidentally Red Pilled Myself. Apparently he was like a BLM activist and then changed his mind. So I'm kind of curious as to what happened on
Yeah,
that
send it to
journey.
me. I want to check it out. This guy's great. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Maybe
interesting.
he'll come on the show sometime and talk to
But
us.
yeah, maybe. But the more important question is that apparently there's a bunch of heathens in the chat who just think coffee tastes gross, and that's why they prefer energy drinks. So
Okay. Well, look, to each his own.
No, those people are bigots. They're racist. That's why they don't like coffee. They're like, I won't drink any drink that's dark colored because I'm a racist.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's what's going on here.
It's just, God, I hate that. I hate that.
Okay. Edward Sr., thanks so much for the 5. Get the memberships.
Oh, yes. Thank you. It's
Thank
awesome.
you. Very original for 5 Canadian. Thank you so much. Says Sitch, don't let Adam's boring podcast brain take away our hey now. I'm all 18, but everyone loves the intro. Look at that.
Look, it's on Sunday. You guys gotta tune in on Sunday to get the Hey Now.
I don't know. It makes a convincing argument.
Were you doing, you didn't do the Hey Now today, right?
I haven't been doing it for a
No,
while
yeah.
on weekdays because you didn't want me to do it.
Yeah. Look,
Yeah.
it's a new show.
Maybe we'll do a poll.
Maybe we should come up with something that's a little more indicative of what the show's about.
Okay.
Hey Now is wasted breath.
Hey now is just exciting. Just gets your juices flowing, okay?
Does it?
I gotta watch. I keep forgetting. It's on my watch list. I have to watch. Howard Stern had an hour-long interview with Joe Biden, and like he basically just sucks his dick. But I'm just curious as to Joe Biden's like level of cognition for an hour. No one's talked about it, so I assume that means he didn't do anything crazy.
Yeah, I guess. Otherwise, it would be like front page
Right.
news, right?
Yeah. J-Mac, our circuit father. Thanks so much, Daddy J-Mac, for the $20. Says, Adam, you can get your degree in prison, don't you know? Some of our best academics and politicians are criminals, don't you know?
It's true, and they do have degree programs in prison, but
There you go.
I still think the universities in Gaza are not like in prison universities.
Clockwork for $2 says AFK. Well, thanks for letting us know, Clockwork.
Away from keyboard.
Yeah,
Look at
we'll let
that.
you know when you get back. Well, his avatar's a cat, so maybe it's away from Kitty.
Oh, okay. Meow.
Very original. For 2 Canadian says, is Cenk the worst debater ever? I mean, he's not great.
Ooh, that's tough.
Definitely not great, yeah. Look at this enlightened centrist. I guess it's official. It's an official enlightened centrist for $5. Your first ever super chat. Thank you so much, enlightened centrist. Says the difference between Vietnam protest and Hamas protest is that the Vietnam didn't rape, kidnap, and kill thousands of Americans. Well, that is a difference. That's true.
Yeah.
Metal face. What?
No, that's basically playing off of my
Right.
calling them terrorists and kidnappers and rapists and murderers.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't care. I'm bad that way.
Metal face
Blame
Rose.
me.
Yeah, I know. For $5 says Cornel is usually pretty good faith and cordial when he argues with Glenn Lowry or John McWhorter.
True. Yeah. And I think I've seen him on there with them. And that's what gave me the false impression that he's not a giant prick.
Right.
But now I feel like I've seen the real Cornel West.
Well, I guess I would be curious. I've seen him talk to them, but I haven't seen him talk to them about Israel stuff. I don't even know what their takes on Israel stuff is. I don't think I've seen them even talk about it. I mean,
Yeah.
I could guess that they're both obviously against the protests because they'd see them as woke stuff. But I would be curious if Cornell would kind of get to that same emotional energy level with them, or is there like a black-white thing going on here? So I don't know.
I mean, I've had some bad performances on the show, but I don't know that I've ever had something this ridiculous. Occasionally, Sitch and I will I'm trying to think of the right word here.
Never. Whatever you're gonna say, it's wrong.
No, we will call people racist, but we try to do our utmost due diligence before we go to that level. But I do think there is, since a lot of people have cried wolf, especially on the left, about racism, a lot of times, even when you see what you would categorize as like real racism, people will say, oh, they'll make excuses for it. They'll say, look, this is the same thing as the woke people are doing, categorizing innocuous shit as racism when it's really not racism. And I'm just sitting here thinking, I mean, that's pretty fucking racist. So, but So I think there are people who would say, "Oh, Adam, you've done this Cornel West performance too, because you called someone racist one time." But this is just, I mean, this is egregious, right? I mean,
Hmm.
I saw zero racism on this panel,
Right.
and just complete miscategorization of these people in really nasty ways. So,
Hmm.
ouch.
Ocracy for $5 says, I really think Jank is a disgusting person. Wow. There you go.
You missed
Uh,
one, Chad
oh,
Summer.
you're right. Chad Summer, thanks so much for the €2. Says, sane folk don't overeat. Dev. And gorges on ham. You're talking
Ham
about
is
like,
delicious. I love ham. Ham is one of my favorite meats. How about you,
yeah,
Sitch?
ham is very tasty.
Ham is
Well,
delicious.
listen, this is why I would never be kosher. Pork is one of the best meats.
Do you
Okay.
like ham and Swiss? What is your ham cheese combination?
Swiss is good. Um, there's like that smoky, what's that smoky, like
Smoky
white cheese?
cheese?
It's like a smoky white cheese. I forget what it's
Yeah.
called. It's pretty good too.
What is that called? I used to
So
know.
there's some dairy-free version of it, obviously, because I don't eat normal cheese.
Oh, so sad.
That's it sucks. All like the dairy-free cheeses, they're all like 90% coconut fat and oil. It's like you have to like use it
Oh,
so sparingly because it doesn't like you'll feel really shitty afterwards because it's so fatty.
is it Gouda that you like? Smoked Gouda?
Gouda's good, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I like I kind of like I'm not like one of these cheese snobs. I like most cheeses. If I have a choice, I'll generally choose anything that's not American cheese.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Right. But
American is only good for certain
yeah.
situations.
I mean, back when I could, I love blue cheese. It's like
Oh,
great.
blue cheese is great.
Yeah. Mick Scruffles for $5 says, starting to think the promised face reveal is a lie to get more super chats. Not falling for that. You say as you fall for it. Gotcha, Mick Scruffles. There you go.
Only $5 though. That's the way to do it.
That's true. Libertarian Sasquatch for $2 says this conflict has turned into a struggle session. True.
Say the IDF is a terrorist. Say it.
Right.
Say it.
As Azrael for $5 says you gotta love how pro Hamas people say capitalists hoards all the resources, but Hamas apparently never does. That's true.
That is a great point.
Walter Mellon for $5 says, what is the difference between chanting from the river to the sea and Jews will not replace us? It sounds like the same song with different lyrics.
True.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Gene Payment for $5 says, Jank's rage has a quality to it you could describe as porn acting. It's the outrage equivalent of delivering a pizza with extra sausage. So I think what Gene is saying is that he feels like it's fake. Like
I
he's like,
agree. I
yeah,
agree to some
he was
extent.
performing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it is. I feel like Jank is like he just because we've seen him get like super triggered on a lot of things on this show, on his own show, and it always has that same quality. I think that's just kind of the way he comes off.
I'll ham it up occasionally
Hmm.
where I'm just, I'm not really serious about it, but I know people want a big performance, so I'll do it.
Right.
I think Cenk does that instinctively.
Hmm. Maybe he's been doing it so long instinctively, it's like the bit has
him.
become the man,
Right.
you know? Puck971 for $10 says, I feel like all these people are using this tragedy to advance their ideology, and I do feel guilty laughing at Jank when he gets this animated. He's not changing anyone's mind with his theatrics. I mean, don't feel guilty about it. It's funny. Let's listen. All you can do is you can cry or laugh. Sometimes you just gotta laugh at the world.
I do understand the guilt. It is a guilty pleasure. I mean, it's completely substanceless
I guess that's true.
entertainment. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he's not changing anyone's minds, obviously. So
S-Class.
Spider-Man. What?
S-Class is oppressor class.
Oh my God. How could Spider-Man betray me by saying this? I thought we were
A-Team
friends,
is
Spider-Man.
living the dream. Oh,
You
that's
literally
such
has an S in the name Spider-Man right at the beginning. How dare you turn your back on S-Class Spider-Man? Jeez. That's it.
We are oppressed.
Okay.
Look, that's why it's okay for us to be racist against S-Class.
Terrible.
You can't be racist against your oppressors.
Terrible.
Stug says, Sitch hates women.
Slug has the Sitch meme turning away emoji from the female sign. So there you
Yeah,
go.
that's great.
Thank you.
That is the misogyny that is the Sitch.
That is how it listen. Being with women is gay, right? That's what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Borelli for $10. Thank you so much. Says if data were collected on all the student protests at these major universities, what do you think the breakdown would be by major? What do you think the STEM to humanities ratio would be? Oh, I mean, you asked that question, but
Yeah.
let's talk
100
about
to
leading the
1.
witness there. I mean, it'd be like 99%, humanities, people taking these ethnic studies, these struggle session studies, it'd be like one STEM guy trying to get laid there. So,
Of course.
yeah.
And he probably will get laid because he's actually in STEM.
Yeah, exactly. Patter of heads for 11 months. Thank you so much. Says, quote, I'm not an anti-Semitic. Also, all Jews are terrorists. How dare you deny it? Cenk, the not Jew hater. Well, listen, to be fair, Cenk didn't say anything. He didn't say that, but that's pretty funny, though.
He did call them thugs.
True. Well, he called the protesters thugs, right?
The Jewish protesters.
That's
he said the Palestinian protesters were
right.
perfect angels.
The Zionist protesters, Adam. Okay. Everyone knows thug is just a code word for racism, so it's a good point. How dare he say that? Melface Rose for $2 says Questlove has aged horribly.
Is that a game?
Wow, terrible. No, that's the singer guy, Questlove.
Oh,
the musician guy.
I don't know. I'll look him up.
He's the drummer for some band. He was saying that Cornel West looks like Questlove.
Oh.
Noah Zork for $2 says gender neutral bucket was my nickname in high school. Oh no.
Wow. Self-report.
Oh, that's terrible, Noah. Thank you. That's awful. Metalface Rose for $2 says this debate is giving me doomer on EFAP flashbacks. Oh, ouch.
No.
Oh no.
Wow.
Wow,
that's some heavy lore.
There you go. TL1524 for $5 says, here's a fun challenge. Watch live TYT. See how many negative comments Cenk reads live. Hint, it's 0. He literally cannot take criticism.
That's not actually true. I mean, I've heard him read negative comments and respond to them.
Oh,
so
okay, there you go. I don't watch the live show. I watch the clips that they put up, but I don't watch the live show.
I've watched the live show many times. Yeah, kind of interesting.
Fondue for $5 says the Sitch and Adam show is sponsored by viewers like you. That's
true.
100%
thank you,
true.
Fondue.
Completely true. Thank you, Fondue.
I see Fondue. I see Stug.
Yep.
I see Britt.
And
Blaine's
Blaine.
Escape Corner.
Yeah, I see them all.
Obviously.
See, the gang's all here.
They are.
Stug for $5 says Cornel West accidentally admitting that he thinks Palestinians and Hamas are the same thing right here. You know what? That's a good point. I didn't even catch that, but you're right. That is a good point. Britt Cormier for $10 says Adam finally agrees with Jimmy Dore. He thinks Cornel West is a piece of shit also. Congrats, Adam. Also, congrats, Adam. Soon you will agree with that guy with the funny mustache soon because that is the way the internet works.
Someday.
There you go.
The Jimmy Dore, I think, was trying to talk down to Cornel West when we covered him, but I think Jimmy Dore is still friendly towards Cornel West, even though I don't think Jimmy Dore would flat out call Cornel West a piece of shit. Mostly because he's a clout chaser and wants to get him back on his show.
You were right. What was the subject we were covering them? I don't even remember. I remember watching it, and I remember the energy, but I don't remember what they were talking about.
Jimmy Dore was trying to give Cornel West campaign advice.
That's
Remember,
right.
He wanted to be his campaign manager.
That's right. And he was giving him the worst advice
he
ever.
Was. Terrible advice. Yeah.
Oh, my God. I love that. That was a good
Cornel West actually was intelligent and thought-provoking in that conversation, but
well,
yeah.
I mean, comparatively, right?
No, I mean, he did pretty good in that conversation, to be honest with you. He definitely called Jimmy Dore out on being just a partisan, insane person.
Well, yeah, but that's what he always is.
Yeah.
Blaine's Escape Quarter for $2 says coffee is morning, go juice, and Red Bull is night.
You can have coffee at night. I've had coffee at night before.
Don't drink caffeine at night. What are you doing?
I'm gonna stay up till midnight.
Stop. Clockwork for $2 says back. Well, welcome back, Clockwork.
Oh,
Thank you for letting us
look.
know. He came back.
Look at
Glad
this.
to know. Okay.
He was AFK and now
That's
he's
right.
back.
We had fun. BA for £5 says these leftists on the show see Israelis and Jews as the same. That's why they can't sympathize with Jews on college campuses getting harassed.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think, well, it's just, and also there's always just a downplaying. They don't want to acknowledge, because they agree with the cause, they don't want to acknowledge of the protesters. They don't want to acknowledge any, harassment or bad things that happens, I guess, because that just kind of plays up, to attack the cause as well. That's how these conversations go.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Borelli for $5 says, when are you guys going to host wild debates like this? Imagine the content gold if you got Destiny and Jank on to debate Israel. I mean, that would be pretty hilarious. But I would assume Destiny want to do it on his own platform.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to grow our own platform, obviously. But I guess, look, all Piers Morgan does is get crazy people on his show, right?
That's true.
Yeah. We want to be the crazy people on our show.
Do we? We want to be the crazy people?
Yes.
Okay. Demling for 1 month, thanks so much, says, how does a Jewish man make coffee?
He brews it.
There you go. Thank you. Brandon McGregor for 5. Aussie Buck says, apparently an undisclosed survey in 2022 shows swing state voters and centrists are more ignorant to the world compared to Republicans and Democrats. Yeah, I mean, that's not even remotely surprising to me whatsoever. That's what I would expect. People that are like really tapped into politics generally have a very strong view one way or the other, right? People that kind of like tapped out or tend to be more moderate, because the sad fact of reality is that the reason that they're probably more moderate is because they just don't care so much about this stuff.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, it's not surprising. But here at the Sitch and Adam show with the big brain intellectuals, all right.
Well, I try
too.
to be informed. I like to
Right.
know what's going on.
That's true.
Sitch likes to know what's going on.
That's true. Lucy Lundbug, thanks so much, Lucy Lundbug, for the 5. Get the memberships.
Yes, thank you. It's amazing. Welcome new members.
Even though you use chopsticks.
No. I tried to stop him, Lucy. I tried to stop him.
He had his hand on my mouth. He was trying to gag me. Okay. Like Donald Trump, he was trying to put a gag order on me. And I said, no, this is America. I have free speech.
Gag order.
Holtonator for $20. Thanks so much, Holtonator. Says, for what's worth, I'm way more interested in hearing you guys talk about ideas than breaking down videos. These people should be drawn and quartered. Terrible. I don't support it, but thank you. Thank you. We try to get a good balance between the two things. So. Death by Sloth for $2 says, leftist argument, quote, I am morally compelled to stick my dick in every little thing you consume, and you're a fucking terrible person for complaining about it. Awful.
Yeah, I hate that argument, but it's true. It's like, agree with me.
Oh my God, look. It's our good friend of the show, Sam Cedar. Look at that. The actual Sam Cedar. This is the real Sam Cedar. This is not a parody account. The real Sam Cedar for $2 says, did somebody say gender neutral bucket?
Oh no.
Of course, referencing the...
Can it really be gender neutral if Sam's drinking from the bucket?
Yes. Of course, referencing the Sam Cedar talking to Destiny about drinking buckets of men juice. And,
right. But that's not gender neutral.
No, that's true. But could be, listen, it could be, that can't be gender neutral. It could be a man a cis man who identifies as gender neutral. What do you mean? Sex and gender are not the same thing, Adam. Don't you remember from the videos we covered last week?
Oh, yeah, you're right. It could be a trans man.
Yes.
No, it could be
trans woman.
It could be a trans woman that
yeah. And someone made that
filled that gender neutral bucket up.
Someone made that brilliant Mr. Bucket parody commercial with Sam.
Right.
Oh my God, I forgot. I wonder if you could do like a song like that on those AI sites. Anyway, Arithmas for $2.
Because Sam could sing the Mr. Bucket part.
There you go.
Because he in the video he only does the buckets of cum.
Right.
Line, but he could do the whole thing. A Mr.
Exactly.
Bucket.
Exactly.
Oh no.
Arithmus for $2 says, I'm starting to think that Jank doesn't know that Muslims are a religious sect and not a race. It's odd that he doesn't know this given that he was raised Muslim. Yeah, well, yeah, a lot of people seem it's so funny because it's like a lot of people want to like very say like, listen, I'm not anti-Jewish, I'm anti-Zionism. They want to like very clearly delineate these things. And it's interesting because then Jank would complain about that, but then he conflates, the religion with the group of people living in Palestine. So it's a good point.
Yeah, I don't. Their thinking behind that is obviously you don't have to be a Zionist. You can renounce Zionism, which is what they're
Right.
trying to antagonize you into doing.
Hmm.
But you can't renounce your race. Obviously, you're
Right.
born into that. So
Blind Escape Corner for $5 says never do coffee in a club. Irish trash can, vodka, gin, tequila, whiskey, and a Red Bull. Cool places put the can upside down in the glass.
wow,
That
that
sounds
sounds
disgusting.
horrible.
Yeah, Jesus. Vodka, gin, tequila, and whiskey all mixed together. First of all, it sounds disgusting. And then putting a Red Bull on top of that. Oh my God.
I used to
That
make this drink called a Bloody Brain that actually looked
mhm.
like a Bloody Brain, which is pretty
Okay.
cool. But
That drink sounds like the drink you get for your friend to like make them drink it as like a punishment.
what is it again? What's in it?
Vodka, gin, tequila, whiskey, and Red Bull.
Okay. So it doesn't have really, it's like clear and then some Red Bull. Doesn't really have like a visual
Well, whiskey's brown, isn't
distinction.
it? Usually.
Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
it's just like a tan, clear liquid.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds gross. Walter Mellon, thanks so much for the $5. Says since Hassan now shares Nick Fuentes' geopolitical views, they should both debate Destiny 2v1. Now that would be pretty funny.
Ooh.
I'd be a fantasy in that conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cenk and Nick Fuentes on the same side of a debate.
Mm-hmm.
That's spicy.
Mm-hmm. What is this
Who gets
picture?
called the racist more?
Between who?
Cenk or Nick Fuentes?
Obviously, Nick Fuentes.
Oh.
Gets called. I mean, Nick Fuentes gets called a racist every day, or, by a minute somewhere.
Did
I
you
mean,
see his
rightfully so.
debate
But
with Destiny?
the Twitter space,
Yeah, somebody wanted us to cover that.
I didn't. I listened to like 5 minutes of it. I didn't listen to the whole thing.
I
Did you
didn't
listen to it?
listen
Is it
to
worth
it.
listening
No.
to?
No, I just saw someone in the comments was like
Okay,
asking
I'll
us
check
to
it out.
cover it.
Maybe we'll cover on Sunday because I mean, it was a lot of people, wasn't it? Like, it was Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate, wasn't he in the call too? Destiny, one of the Krassen scenes. So there's like a fuck ton of people in that call. So
Wild.
I know. I'll check it out. Maybe it's worth covering on Sunday.
Why don't you jump into those Twitter spaces?
Because first of all, I didn't even know what's going on until after the fact. So
You probably clean house in there.
that's true. That's
You're a
true.
smart guy.
I am a smart guy. Anyways,
Although those things are tough. Sitch and I both have the same attitude that it's like we don't want to fight 20 people for the ability to speak. It just
yeah,
it looks so bad.
that's what's the annoying thing about those spaces, because that's what they all devolve into is people fighting to talk, right? So
Yeah. Like if you're a prominent creator, more prominent than us, obviously. People
right,
are like stepping aside, please, talk, Destiny, right?
right.
So if you're in that situation, sure, it's fun to roll in, right?
Hmm.
If you're in our situation, it's like wallflower mode. Yeah.
There you
So
go.
it's better if we just talk to people on our own. But anyway,
Right.
that's it. We're going. Bye-bye. Take care. So long.
Bye.